Football Association to invest $260 million in the grassroots game from 12th of August 2015. The Football Association will invest a record £260 million into the grassroots game over the next 4 years. It's a £60 million increase on the funding allotted for the previous 4-year period, which ended this summer. The FA plans to improve facilities and coaching in the amateur game, as well as increase the number of people taking part, although critics have suggested the funding is insufficient. Chief Executive Martin Glenn said, "Our goals are ambitious but achievable." Glenn, speaking at the launch of the National Game Strategy for Participation and Development, added, "There are challenges facing grassroots football, both in terms of facilities and coaching." No crap, Sherlock. Speaking of some of those challenges, Kids Soccer School boss to return MBE in protest at Rocket in Birmingham Park pitch charges. This from the birminghammail.co.uk on the 16th of August 2015. A community champion is to hand back his beloved MBE in protest after council chiefs charged him £680 for taking kids on a summer holiday local park kickabout. Clutching the gong, Leroy Richards said bitterly, I was given this medal for serving the community, and that is something I can no longer do. They have taken that away from me. It no longer has any meaning. The reason I got this has been taken away purely for purely financial reasons. I can no longer serve my community. I can no longer reach out to my community. They have effectively cut off my arms. Birmingham City Council takes a very different view. Far from informal kick-arounds, officials say they witnessed structured matches on associated school playing fields, which they argue need to be booked. Leroy from King's Standing has long been an outspoken opponent of the loss of soccer spaces to development and the drastic rise in pitch hire fees. The 50-year-old has gained a reputation as King's Standing's knight in shining armour, running a burgeoning soccer school, football futures, daycare centres for the elderly, and even allotments. In 2010, that tireless work earned him a place in the finals of Pride of Britain, set up to honour this country's unsung heroes. A year later, he became a member of the Order of the British Empire, MBE. But Leroy is now so sickened by the savage round of community cuts that he no longer wants to be a part of that select band. He fears football futures will be crushed by the £3,000 cost of using 2 pitches on King's Standing's Burford Road playing fields. The voluntary organisation had been paying already hefty £1,300. It is no longer sustainable, the father of 4 admitted. The kids pay £2 for training and £3 on match days. We have 11 teams, we have to pay league fees, insurance, the cost of FA affiliation and new kit. I have ploughed £12,500 of my own money into it, and last week I borrowed a sit-on lawnmower to cut 12 acres of grass at Burford Road. I have asked to formally take over the maintenance of the park, and I have been told it would cost £22,000, which frankly is ridiculous. Leroy warned, if football futures goes, it will be a massive blow for the whole community, because this is not a club, it is a family. If that was taken away from us, it would be devastating. The £680 bill for twice weekly holiday gatherings at Burford Road so sickened Leroy that he has forfeited the gong he once cherished. It's the last thing I could do to make someone somewhere take notice, he explained. That bill amazed me, to be honest. I didn't charge the children anything, and on Saturdays we were getting more than 300 of them. My argument is that we are talking about a park where any child can go for free. I can see it from my window, and it's fantastic to see them playing there. That is what it's all about. In some ways, I'm almost a victim of my own legacy. Because I'm there, they associate it with football futures. We have been told time and time again of concerns about the growing number of obese children in Birmingham and the need for exercise. That's what I do, but I'm being prevented from doing it. Leroy's grouse and angst is not solely with local authorities. And this relates back to the previous point. I switched on Sky Sports and they were talking about the £260 million being invested in grassroots football, he said. I learned to hate the term because the money doesn't filter down to our grassroots level. It's meaningless. So it is one of them. Leroy's own story is of a troubled individual who found purpose and direction through helping others. Now, you know what, yeah? Me, the Gman and Gezzie Fizzle have questioned this as well, in terms of the money being pledged to grassroots football, because the phrase that is always the key word is grassroots projects. Now, that's such a vague term. We've said before that it is such a vague term that you could give a few grand to this, few grand to this, few grand to that. Couple months later, that entity could be gone and that money's basically wasted. So there are certain clubs that are having financial troubles that can't afford to run. There are certain clubs at amateur league level like I literally heard about a club today that's pitching certain ideas, that has pitched a certain idea to a club that I'm involved with, but that's about all I can say about it. But the fact of the matter is, grassroots football is in trouble, and at the end of the day, this 260 million pound over 4 years going to grassroots football. Let's say all right, that over 4 years is what, about 5 million and something over the 4 years, or something along those lines. No, 50 million something. I think it's like 52 million, something like that over 4 years. My maths has never been that brilliant, but I think it is about 52 million per year for about the 4 years. Now you spread that around the amount of grassroots teams that there are, it's not much. That probably dials down to like a couple of £100 per grassroots side, and that depends how far down you're going. Are you just doing it in the amateur leagues? Are you doing it in semi-pro as well? Is it going down to youth leagues? Like what basically I mean, like what Leroy Richards is doing. Like, where is this money going? This money is to me, it's never really accounted for. It's always like, yeah, we're gonna give all this money, but at the end of the day, I always look at it as, where is it going? Because if you've got Rocket in Birmingham Park pitch charges, and we've spoken about this before, like why is this 260 million not filtering down to that, to keep prices affordable for children wanting to get into football, and youths wanting to get into football, and adults getting into football? I mean, of course, we had our last pitch talk meets with Mr. Darrell David, who's the chairman of the newly formed Amateur Football Alliance Youth Council, and of course, we were saying to him, hey, you are in a position where you could potentially make a huge impact in the AFA and also football in general. But the fact of the matter is, at some point you need some sort of revenue or money streams to be able to help facilitate pitch costs, because you have to maintain those pitches, you have to pay to rent out those pitches. It doesn't all come for free. That's why IBIS have to charge a registration fee, and then charge £6 a game for each game you play, because obviously the referee has to be paid. So it's one of them ones. There are a lot of costs that people don't realise are there in grassroots football, because at the end of the day, it's not free. So it's such a tough one, and with the Premier League and the top leagues having all of this money, this £5.136 billion, and they're literally only devoting a few million, and even that, and even that is just kind of is frittering away. And when you've got someone running community initiatives, giving back his MBE that he earned because of those community initiatives, when you see him giving it back to make a statement, that's not to be scoffed at. That's one of them ones where it's like one of the most cherished things in his life. He feels strongly enough to actually be like, you know what, I'm going to give this back, because the community work that I got it for, I can't do anymore. I can't serve my community. So it's sad to see this. It's a unique form of protest, but you know what? I have to agree with it. I mean, Leroy Richards is trying to make a statement, and that is a big statement. I mean, Gman, did you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, it's quite a sad and somber story, to be honest. Like that, Leroy Richards has had to go down this route, because he and all committee members that are involved in stuff like this, they're doing it for a good reason. But I'm not gonna. You've addressed the issues at hand, but I'm just gonna try and look at it from another angle now because we're always looking for solutions to who can get involved and help causes of grassroots football put back into the game. We're always blaming clubs. We take it to the FA and say they're not doing enough. We talk about FIFA and squandering money and they're not doing enough. But really and truthfully, when thinking about this hard now, it really does lie down to players. Like, players are being paid exorbitant wages. They're getting so much money, and most of these players come from working class backgrounds and they know what grassroots football is all about. They come from grassroots football, and I know they do their charity work on the side, but that's partly because they're doing it because, one, it makes them look good, but two, it's probably what the club, they've got a quota what they have to do with the club anyway, or three, it's probably something within the club where they've been fined for doing something wrong, and they've had to do it as a punishment. Like, they won't tell us that, but that does happen in clubs where they have to give back to the community or they get fined in that sort of way, and that is a form of punishment. And that's a bit of a speculative issue that on its own, but I'm just saying, like, the players themselves, with the amount of money they get spent, and you think about there's 11 players to a first team, 22 players to a first team and a reserve team. We could go on, say how many players a club's particularly got, if they all banded together, put money together, and monthly was pushing it through to a local, just a local charity or something, or giving it back to the local grassroots pitches, or giving it back to the pitches where they used to play as a child, or something like that. It could help out. Now,
it would help out. Not even.
I'm just like, we could look at the clubs and say it's the duty of the clubs, but at the end of the day, I'm thinking these players have come from grassroots. Yeah. They know what grassroots all about. They never they didn't land with £22,000 contracts, at the age of 9. So they should know. Academies, especially like the older players, academies wasn't even there. There weren't really any real academies up until 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it used to be like YTS schemes where you used to have to pay for it, and you used to basically have to pay your dues.
So personally, I'm just trying to look for another solution. I just think players should be doing a lot more for their local areas, like going back to your local area and shaking a few hands and giving out a few t-shirts or a few jerseys or a few sponsored gear. Like, I can't remember, I know someone said it before, but I think it was Ibrahimovic said when he helped, I think, like, the disability team in Sweden get to a World Cup, and like his teammates, they were sponsoring balls and shirts, and he turned around and he was like, what's giving them balls and shirts going to do? It's not going to help them get to their World Cup. And he gave them the money to go to the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get me? It's those sort of,
like Daniel Agger supporting, giving money for I think a Danish team to get to the Homeless World Cup.
Yeah.
And it's like those sort of gestures are one of them ones where it's like, right, at least we can see that money's being channeled in the right way, and it's instant gratification. You can instantly see where it's going and the impact it's having. Whereas with this 260 million, which is supposed to be a 60 million increase on the 4-year kind of gap before, it's on them was, that's all well and good, but just throwing money at something is not the solution. Channeling money in the right way is a solution. If you're going to put money into something, keep tabs on it and see where that money's actually going. See where it's actually being spent. Don't just throw it out and hope for the best, and just because you might as well just throw it against the wall, throw it up against the ceiling, and whatever sticks to the roof, it sticks to the roof.
Yeah.
You've got to you've got to be able to account for where that money's going, because whenever we see stories like this about the FA are giving a load of money, you never really see many examples of where it's going. You might see 2 examples, 3 at the most, of where that money has gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, they've had a grant of a couple of thousand. One team's got a grant of a couple of £1,000, but where's the rest of those millions going? Because one of the major obstacles, and we've gone over this on shows before, one of the major obstacles in terms of people wanting to play football, facilities, especially in the amateur leagues, where it's like some clubs, instead of like going to the FA, they are forging relationships with local businesses, but local businesses can only really subsidize so much for a football club. And that local business has to buy into that football club. Like, say, Hackney Wick FC. They've gotten a few local businesses to buy into what they're doing. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they can only do so much.
Wasn't it like Rob Lusher? I think it was from his Pitch Talk Meets, where he was talking about, or it might have been off camera, where he was talking about, backing like the 1800s, and the early 19th century, where it was local banks, that helped start club
teams, like HSBC, Lloyd's,
sort of associations.
Yeah,
like maybe I'm just thinking in like of maybe like what Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes have done with the breakaway Man United team, where they've invested in that.
Oh, what with like Salford FC and that kind of thing, yeah.
Maybe more players should be doing a lot more of that. Because that would just help. Just imagine if you had Zaha helping out with 10MB and just giving like a small proportion of a wage, like yearly or whatever, to 10MB, helping them out, paying for the ground or something for a season. Because come on, paying for a ground of the season from football. And I know it sounds sort of delusional, but for a footballer, for the amount they get paid, paying for a ground for a season, how much would that be?
It'd be a few grand, but at the end of the day, it'll be a drop in the ocean compared to what pros at the top level are earning.
Yeah, and the sort of things that they actually spend their money or rent, or type of renting of like cars and jewelry and stuff that they're paying for. I know that's their own personal thing, and I'm not trying to dig into them, because I'm not saying if I didn't have money, I wouldn't get myself luxuries. Yes, I would, but I'm just saying, as they're in the game, they should be giving back to the game in that sort of way, especially where they know where they've come from.
Oh, definitely. It's one of them was giving back to where you come from it's the best. It's one of the best things you can do, and it's important as well. So, it's just one of them ones, man. It's just really strange. It's just really strange that people don't realize this, because for me personally, this is common sense stuff. This is not like leaps of faith and jumps and that kind of thing. This is common sense stuff. This is stuff that people should be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, let's do it. I don't know if you agree with me, but I think this is common sense stuff. Like we said on like what was said on I think it was by Dave McLaughlin and John, his second in command, where it was kind of like, it's good to see clubs coming into existence, because we're quite used to, especially in the SAL, we're quite used to seeing clubs going out of existence, and it's sad to see that. As said, I heard about something earlier today about a proposition being thrown out, in terms being put out there, in terms of a struggling club looking to do something. So it's, as I said, I can't say any more about it, but it's one of them ones where I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of clubs were struggling, and that it's just one of them ones. It's just so sad. It's just so sad to see that a lot of this money just ends up not being accounted for, and it slips through the cracks. If it even gets given out at all. Now there's another thing. You could say you're giving out that kind of money, but if it's not being accounted for, then who says you have given it out? You could get away with it because people ain't scrutinizing it.
Yeah, but you know, also the most important thing is that we need to see, like you were saying, stressing on the breakdown, because at the end of the day, look at all the like intermediate people in between, like who get paid for the movement of the actual money. And when I say that, I mean, like, you know, if they are giving the money out, like who's giving the money to who, like what sort of, who's going out to buy these things, who's going out signing checks, those sort of things, the legal people behind it, you know, that's where a lot of money is going as well.
Yeah.
So people that ain't even associated with the actual playing, the grassroots level.
Exactly. Middlemen are getting a load of money, and that might be where some of the money's falling through the cracks, sadly. So, I mean, it's one of them ones where it is concerning. For me personally, it is extremely concerning that that's happening. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I am just kind of concerned when someone feels so strongly about it that they're giving back an MBE, which was one of their most prized possessions. They're giving that back just to make a statement. So, yeah, it's one of them ones. It is very much an odd one.
You know what I would say though? In an ideal world, the bigger clubs would have responsibility for all the local grounds in a certain radius around their club, and they would have to maintain those grounds. I'm not saying pay for you know, any equipment for, you know, teams or anybody that's going to use the grounds, but they maintain the grounds, you know, so it cuts a sort of cost for those leagues who use those grounds. Because that is one of the bigger problems. Because I remember when you know, the price hike in playing for Ibis, when that came 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
And that's mainly a grounds thing.
Yeah.
You know, getting facilities for you know, training, and that obviously was an additional cost to it. But obviously, you know, the price of grounds is expensive. Just like going and renting from goals and stuff, like using their grounds, it's expensive for someone that's starting off a small club.
Of course.
So,
I mean, just starting up a club is expensive, let alone bloody bloody keeping it going as well. Because as I said, there are stuff like ground costs, there's administrative costs as well. There are a lot of costs in terms of running a club, let alone just starting it. I mean, just starting it is only the beginning. So it's one of them ones. And also, considering childhood obesity is a problem, you want to get especially youngsters into football, and especially keeping teenagers involved in football as well, rather than off the streets. Because a lot, as you said, G-Man, in terms of certain players coming from working class backgrounds, some of them were saved by football. I mean, our most recent example of that would be Mr. Bobby Kasanga, of the founder of Hackney Wick FC, who was going down quite a rough road.
And not to forget yourself.
What about me? What? Where are you getting that from? You burying me? No, but it's one of them ones. On a serious note, though, it's like Bobby Kasanga of Hackney Wick FC, who was going down quite a negative road, and football saved him, and he's openly admitted that football has saved him. So that's how important and powerful football can be. So it's one of them ones. But you know what? We're going to come back to that story. We're definitely coming back to that story in spades.